All right, hello. Once again, it is the Loose Cannon and
Wrestling Connoisseur.
Sam Keola. So here we're going to talk about a lot of New Japan stuff. We had a video of New Japan stuff, but then we just ended up not being able to use it. So now we're going to do even more. So this is from October 7th. You remember October 7th, way in the beginning of the month. So we're going to quickly go over all of the events that happened since then. So October 7th, they had Ganbaro Unoma 2017. It was a Young Lions event. So it had a lot of the Young Lions facing a lot of their older, more veteran talents. Notably, Kushida fought against Hirai Kawato, one of the big young talents as far as the Young Lions. Someone who gets a lot of the singles matches. There was also a tag match between Ren Narita and Yuji Nagata, or I can't speak. Ren Narita and Yuji Nagata versus Tetsuhiro Yagi and Manabu Nakanishi. Now, later on, in this month, it was, I believe, last week, Saturday, so that was I want to say the 22nd.
Sure, we'll go with that.
The 21st to 22nd, they had in Japan a match between Nakanishi and Nagata. It was their 25th anniversary match. So they've had a lot of events where they've been in tag teams sort of building up towards this 25th anniversary match.
What's this build up and tag teams you speak of? What is that?
What is that? So basically they have Nagata tag with someone else and Nakanishi tag with someone else and have them go at each other in tag team matches, and most of the time neither one of them is involved in the finish, so to sort of keep them at odds with each other but not have one lose to another. So kind of a good way. Yeah. The other big event that happened was King of Pro Wrestling. That was on October 9th. Two big things that happened was the debut of Roppongi 3K, which is managed by Rocky Romero, and it is Sho and Yo. So Sho Tanaka and Yohei Komatsu are Roppongi 3K, 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 Roppongi 3K, 3K, 3K. That's their...
Interesting.
That's their theme song.
It's turned into like a stable instead of...
Kind of. And because of the fact that Rocky Romero is in Chaos, they are now in Chaos by association. And especially in a lot of their house shows now, they're tagging with other members of Chaos. These are two other people who were part of the Young Lions program a couple of years ago. They went off and trained in Ring of Honor and CMLL. In Ring of Honor, they were known as the Tempura Boys. And they were sort of in a kind of stable with Kame Itachi, also known as Hiromu Takahashi, who is enjoying a lot of success now. So it worked out really well. So Roppongi 3K actually took the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles off of Funky Future, which was Ryusuke Taguchi and Ricochet. Notably, Ricochet after this gave a sort of farewell seeming speech to New Japan saying, I wasn't at my best tonight. I want to thank, however, Taguchi and Taguchi Japan for taking me in, showing me a little bit more of the style of Japanese wrestling. I learned a whole lot in this experience. So there's been a lot of questions as to what's going on with Ricochet. Is he finishing up his last round of independent bookings? I know he shortly after that did win the PWG championship, and he's also the first person to have won Bola Battle of Los Angeles 2 times. So this could be his last hurrah.
Triple H is very interested in Ricochet. How can you not be? He's got to be like in the top 5 indie stars in the world. So,
easily.
I would dare say number 2, because I would put Kenny Omega as number 1. Yeah.
So it's been interesting to see sort of how this pans out, considering the fact that they were Ricochet specifically was a pretty big part of Taguchi Japan. And so him leaving New Japan sort of leaves a kind of big hole within that stable. So we'll see what happens after that.
Do you know what his status is with Lucha?
Lucha, as far as I know, he is not contracted with them anymore. He did not re-sign. I don't know if he's holding out to try and negotiate a new thing. I know Lucha Underground is in between seasons right now.
Right.
They recently finished their 3rd season, I believe. I was talking to our correspondent for Lucha Underground last night, who's not here, because he is busy at work. But he will hopefully be here sometime this week. I've been trying to work out with him because I would like for all of us to get caught up on Lucha. I know I'm super far behind, so it would be cool to hear his perspective. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can have that to look forward to. So another cool thing was the 3-way tornado tag team match for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. That was a retention by a Killer Elite Squad. So that is Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Lance Archer. Davey Boy Smith Jr. recently got in the news for actually saving someone from committing suicide. So
from jumping off a bridge, I believe, right?
Yeah, he used his grappling experience, like grappled her off the side of the bridge and like held her down, made sure she didn't jump.
Unfortunately, he did break her collarbone when he German suplexed her to safety.
I mean, at least she's still alive.
Lance Archer ran over and threw her off the bridge. No, but that is great. I did read that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I'm a really big fan of Davey Boy Smith Jr. I like that he's wrestling.
Quite a few wrestlers
on the name
have done some very heroic things over the years. I think Bam Bigelow, who is notorious in Japan, ran into a burning building and saved a family.
Because he's a hero, duh.
Yeah, that's
Bam Bam.
the flames and everything. It doesn't hurt him. And then I think Perry Saturn stopped a rape.
Yes.
I think it almost like ended his career pretty much because he got shot twice.
Yeah. So he was
crazy.
he was crippled by the
I think they shot him
gunshots
in the spine or something.
So it really screwed him up. He was like homeless for a while. Perry Saturn is a very
crazy
sad story, but very heroic man.
Yeah. So.
And then another of the big matches that happened was Kushida, who was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, versus Will Ospreay for the belt, in which Kushida dropped the title to Will Ospreay.
Ospreay.
Well, I mean, this is so that was the start of the feud for the belt between Will Ospreay. And as soon as he won, he was starting to talk, and then Takahashi comes out with the interruption, and then before Takahashi can say anything, because Takahashi at the beginning of the year was the person that had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. But before he can even get a word out, Marty Scurll comes out and basically is like, I hope you enjoy that while it lasts because I'm coming for your belt.
Interesting.
And I mean, they have a pretty long and storied feud throughout British wrestling. So it will be interesting to see how this pans out for them. Yeah. And if they will strap Marty.
Especially,
I know they're pretty high on him.
In the sense of just using Gaijin wrestlers. Hardly ever do you see them drop the title from one to the next. So it's pretty interesting to see where New Japan goes with this and how they've blossomed through the years.
Oh, yeah.
And because usually they take a long time to build somebody up. They stick to their plan no matter what. WWE. No matter what.
So that means, Wrestle Kingdom 13, Kenny Omega will win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Fingers crossed.
I think he will.
Because he can't do it at 12 because it's the match is Naito versus Okada. I would be very surprised if Naito beats Okada. Okada is the big match moneymaker over there. You know what I mean? So he's big match Kazuchika.
I don't want to start in on it, but yeah, I'm not thoroughly sold on Okada still. I know people are like probably pissing their pants right now.
I know, me right now. Sorry about the mess.
I got some kitty litter. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they put a lot of effort into him. And he has had a lot of great, huge money matches. I kind of give that more toward who he is facing, though, than him. But he has proven that he can have those matches with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's been a consistent performer.
He's good. I just don't see him as having the it factor. Versus like everybody he works with has the hit factor.
That's true.
Because he has a huge amount of talent to work with also.
Oh, yeah.
So, to me it's just almost like when WWE was pushing Bautista and he worked with like all these great talents to like really put him over, and he had good matches because he was in the ring with people who could have good matches.
Yeah.
But, you know, he learned a lot on the way, and I feel like Okada's kind of the same way. I'm not comparing him to Bautista because he's way beyond Bautista. But, yeah. I don't know. That's just me.
So there was a match, actually. Okada did have a match. Actually, both Naito and Okada had matches that night as well. So Naito had to defend his IWGP Heavyweight Championship Challenge Rights certificate. Because at the G1... the final two competitors who fought for it were Tetsuya Naito and Tomohiro Ishii. So Naito ended up winning, but Ishii asked for a rematch, and was like, "Hey, if you really are as good as you say you are, you can beat me twice," and he did.
It's because he's that good. It's been cool watching Ishii grow. All these last few years, and I never thought he really had it in him to get to this level. The way
it's nice to see
he
see the Stone Pitbull. You know what I mean?
He's really took the ball and run with it. So
I'm glad that he got this sort of bigger match. The biggest match, of course, was Okada versus Evil of LIJ. For the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. So, Evil did put up a really good fight. He's grown on me a whole lot. It's nice to see each of the members of LIJ have singles matches every so often, because oftentimes they get thrown into like a giant tag team match, and so you don't ever really get to see each member shine like how they should. So I was really glad to see Evil... one, get an incredible entrance, because, I mean, that in of itself is super cool. But two, also put on an excellent match against Okada. And going back to what you said, Okada always gets really good competitors with him. And I think this is another example, and I think this is a really good chance to see Evil step out as a singles competitor. LIJ is a relatively small stable. So it's nice that each member will have their moment in the sun, as it were. Naito, of course, gets a little bit more because he's the leader. And Takahashi oftentimes gets a lot, too, because he's so flamboyant. So it's harder, I think, for Bushi, Evil, and Sanada to stand out. So really happy again for Evil. Unfortunately, he did not win the title, but he did put up a hell of a fight. And I think this will not... I don't think this will be the last showdown between the two of those. I think Evil will definitely get another title shot sometime. Nice. Maybe not for the heavyweight championship, but maybe even for the Intercontinental or the US or something. It would be cool.
Japan has a lot of titles right now.
Yeah, so. And I love it.
For those that aren't familiar with Japanese wrestling or Puroresu, they use tag matches out the ass.
Oh,
and they use them in a manner. It's a completely different way of booking than what American wrestling's used to. But they will use them to just start to build guys up slowly and introduce them to the fans and let you see a little bit of them, and then slowly you can see more and more and more, and until they're ready to be pushed up.
And there's also like how we were talking about before, they also use them a lot more effectively as far as building feuds, keeping feuds fresh, building feuds, having both sides of the feud trade off on who wins without them being the specific person to get pinned or pin.
It lets you use everybody on your roster, whereas like you may go 2 months without seeing Luke Harper. In Japan, you get to see everybody that's on the roster for that tour. You know,
almost every show.
Yeah, for a 3-month period, as long as they do their tours or so, then you get to see pretty much everybody on those shows.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the next big event I want to talk about was the Lionsgate Project 8, which had the opening rounds of the Young Lion Cup 2017. They're bringing it back. The last one, I believe, was a couple years ago. I want to say 2012, but I might be wrong. So they had those matches start up, and it's sort of similar to the G1, where it's sort of a round-robin style. So by December, which their last one, I want to say, is in mid-December, they're going to be able to figure out who was the winner of the Young Lion Cup 2017 out of the Young Lions.
Nice.
It's really cool. I think it's a really nice thing. I know New Japan, for their big shows, will often have the Young Lions sort of not quite as lumberjacks in the match, but just sort of being ring assistants, making sure everything's
boys.
Yeah, they're ring boys.
That's a whole other show right there.
In King of Pro Wrestling, actually, they were interacted with a lot. Shoto Umino had to kiss Cody's Ring of Honor.
Nice.
Yeah, he's just like, kiss it. And he's just like...
Damn it. Ring boys are the ones that always, Minoru Suzuki kicks out off the ring and beats the hell out of them at some point in the match.
Yeah, because that's what Suzuki does.
Yeah. Can't blame him.
So there was also the Global Wars split with Ring of Honor. That was from Thursday, October 12th through Sunday, October 15th. So a couple of the cool matches that I thought were interesting between those were Mark Briscoe and War Machine versus Minoru Suzuki and Killer Elite Squad. So a nice way to have War Machine and Killer Elite Squad fight each other again, but sort of add the variables of Mark Briscoe and Suzuki.
I mean, that's a hell of a variable.
Yeah. One match that I really want to touch upon was Christopher Daniels versus Hiromu Takahashi, in which Christopher Daniels, after the match, actually showed a lot of respect for Takahashi, and he said something along the lines of, sometimes a soldier can outshine a general.
Yeah.
And basically praised Takahashi and how he worked, his style, and in-ring and out. So I thought that was really cool. Takahashi, is by no means unpopular. He's incredibly popular with the fans, and his work shows for itself. He's really talented, super good. But I thought it was like a nice sort of...
It was an amazing nod, especially coming from someone like
Takahashi
Daniels.
did actually win that match against Christopher Daniels, so it was really nice. Cool. Yeah, it was really nice push for him, even if it wasn't toward the title or anything. It was nice, show respect.
Yeah.
And then there was Will Ospreay, his first match since winning the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. He lost. It wasn't a title match, but interesting that would happen. Fresh off his big victory, he finally got the belt that he's been fighting for a while, and he loses to Punishment Martinez. Which I thought was an interesting choice, but who knows what they may have in mind. Who knows what their plans are. A couple other matches. So on the Friday show, they had the debut of the Luxury Trio, which is Cody, Kenny Omega, and Marty Scurll, versus 3 members of Chaos, those being Toru Yano, Will Ospreay, and Yoshi-Hashi, in which the Luxury Trio ended up getting the win. They've been pushing really hard, and this is around the time, this is soon after they debuted their new hand signal, because they can no longer 2 sweet, so it's 1 sweet. It's like E.T. Oh my god, I can't believe I pointed it out. Now they're going to go after them again for E.T. I'm sorry.
They should just keep using Too Sweet, because I know me and my daughter do.
I taught that to my dad. Now my dad does that. It's great.
Well, especially considering, not to divulge, but considering where it come from. And even on, I think it was Table for 3, and they talked about where it came from. And apparently, X-Pac started it, your favorite.
Get out.
When they were somewhere in Europe and they were at a bar and he went over and was talking to some dudes that were apparently some mobsters, European mobsters or something or other.
I believe it.
And that was their hand sign to distinguish each other. It was like some kind of wolf mob or something or
The
other.
wolf pack.
And apparently that's where it come from. And so they
so
said
funny.
Pac used to do it all the time backstage, and so it just kind of like caught on between the clique, and then they started doing it on stage, and it just
sort of spread.
Yeah. I think it was Nash, AJ, and HBK that was talking about it at a table for three.
I think you're right.
So technically, I don't see how they could really sue for it. I mean,
Who knows?
who knows?
I mean,
Let's just hope for WWE's sake that those mobsters don't catch wind of it.
ruh-roh.
And that they're not big, fans of the Elite. And
The elite.
Bullet Club.
The elite. All right. Well, getting back to it. So on the Saturday, I think the match that I thought was probably the coolest, because I'm a big fan of both these dudes, was Takahashi versus Jay Lethal. Both very incredibly talented. I think both of them were also in the running for the IWGP champion, or the IWGP US Championship, way back in July when they did those.
Yeah.
Jay Lethal did end up getting the win over Takahashi, but again, it was a nice showing for Takahashi. The Ring of Honor split shows, I think, because he did spend so much of his career in the United States in Ring of Honor, they always try to showcase him. And he always...
As well they should.
Yeah, and he always, I mean, regardless of whether or not he wins or loses, he always ends up looking incredible.
Lethal has really grown so much over the last, 5 years or so.
Definitely.
I mean, of course, his stuff in TNA was great. They didn't use him to the fullest extent. But I think he's definitely grown since leaving there and being in ROH and other places.
And I mean, he had a great Ring of Honor championship run. He had a great feud with Colt Cabana. I've always been a really big fan of Colt Cabana, but I know Ring of Honor doesn't always use Colt Cabana well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was incredible work for the two of them, because both of them ended up... Nobody lost that feud, you know what I mean? Nobody came out looking worse for it. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean,
Sorry, I can't help but laugh. Just
it's effective.
A feud where people come out looking worse.
90% of the feuds in WWE, Anyway. So there was also Cody versus Kushida, who had recently lost his IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. So Kushida is fighting for the Ring of Honor World Championship, and of course, that goes with it, the Ring of Honor. Kushida, unfortunately, could not seal the deal. So Kushida, right now, I think he is playing more of a role with the Young Lions, working with them to help them get up to the level where they need to be on the main roster, which I think is really cool. He's the one that's probably been working matches with them the most, outside of Yujiro Takahashi and Leo Tonga, who is himself a young lion, but has been sort of elevated a little bit because he is in more of the tag matches with the main roster than he is with the Young Lions. So, kind of cool. I really like how the theme in New Japan seems to be more of let's everyone get over rather than let's get over at the expense of someone else. There's a lot more of that sense of working together and acknowledging the talents of other people. Even the heels will oftentimes be like, that's a really good fight. So-and-so is really talented. Yeah. It's really hard fought battle. So I like that style. That might be what I gravitate more towards as far as the promos in New Japan.
Well, I've always enjoyed that they actually have like an after-match promo with the press. They'll come back, they'll sit down on the bench or whatever, and they'll give their little shout out or whatever they have to say. And it's almost like after you watch a basketball game and they like interview the star, the MVP of the game, and it's like, oh, this is a really nice touch. Like, you never get that in like WWE or anything. This sense of sportsmanship, and that it is a sport, not just
not
fantasy.
just flippy shit.
And it legitimizes
it makes things important to people. So it makes people care more. It makes it matter.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important, because if you can't make people care and if you don't treat it like it matters, then other people aren't going to treat it like it matters either.
If you can't make people care? What?
Yeah.
In wrestling? Huh, who would ever think about that?
Not Vince McMahon.
Just jabbing, little jabs.
Because this is our New Japan video. They're not going to watch this.
That's true.
So then on the Sunday, there were some pretty good matches too. I'm a big fan of Cheeseburger. So Cheeseburger was in a tag match with Kushida.
I like double cheeseburgers
against
myself.
The Addiction. So it was, of course, Cheeseburger and Kushida versus Christopher Daniels and Kaz.
Oh, if only it had been like Cheeseburger versus Curry Man. That could have been...
Cheeseburger versus Nakanishi. Cheeseburger versus Monster Morning.
Monster Burger. They could tag.
Oh, man. That's what it is. Monster Cheeseburger.
Monster Burger.
Monster Burger. Cheese Morning. Whatever.
Cheese Morning?
So the Addiction did end up winning that, but like I said, anytime I get to see Cheeseburger in the ring, and he's pretty respected as far as working as in Ring of Honor. I mean, he trains people. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to see him get in that ring time, especially because he's a huge fan favorite. And then there was the Hung Bucks. So that's Hangman Adam Page, and the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes versus Search and Destroy, which is Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Jay White, and Jonathan Gresham. So of course the Bullet Club won, but it was nice because of the fact that the Hung Bucks are actually the Ring of Honor 6-man tag champs.
Oh, 6-man tags.
Yeah.
I can remember those.
It's a good time. And then the match that I keep trying to find, but I cannot find it in its entirety. Every time I try to look it up on New Japan World, it says, sorry, it is unavailable in your area.
Oh.
It's unavailable outside of Japan, that full match, which makes me sad. But this is a match that I would actually pay so much money to see. Toru Yano, New Japan's Colt Cabana versus Colt Cabana, Ring of Honor's Toru Yano. I mean, both of them have very similar styles and personalities as far as how they present themselves as wrestlers.
Yeah.
Comically and comedy-wise, they do a lot of the same sort of shtick, and they even sort of dress similarly. So this is a match I have heard a lot about, and I've heard it was really good. Colt Cabana did get the win.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Toru Yano hasn't really gotten many wins cleanly.
Right.
So
I almost expect he would have won this one, though.
They needed to push Colt Cabana. Because it's Colt Cabana. And I'm a big fan of Colt Cabana.
He needs the money.
Finally, the title match was Kenny Omega versus Yoshi-Hashi for the IWGP United States Championship, which, of course, Kenny Omega retained. But nice to see Yoshi-Hashi sort of doing battle for this sort of belt again. It's been a while since we've seen him close to a title picture, so I think it was a nice way to sort of re-inject him in there. In a match that a lot of people got to see and a lot of people cared about. So, again, I know I go back to caring about wrestling, but that's what I've noticed, especially in New Japan, is they take the time to make people care.
Right.
And that's why their fans get so attached to certain wrestlers. Shibata's return during the G1 was huge.
Yeah. Return.
I mean, he came,
He come back to say
he showed that he's not dead. Yes.
Yeah. Any news on that? In that front? Shibata,
as far as
anything?
Shibata, I haven't heard any updates since the G1 where he said, "It's like, yeah, I'm back and I will wrestle again one day." So I would heavily advise
if he can
against it.
That is huge. Like, I mean,
that is incredibly fortunate if he can.
God, what an opportunity if he can wrestle again, like on a full schedule, at least a full Japan schedule, and not get injured. I mean, that'd be huge for them. I would push him to the moon quick.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, you're not going to get another opportunity like that.
Yeah, that's really sort of...
Especially with a wrestler who is, like, almost fundamentally gimmick-wise Antonio Inoki.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've never been a huge
which is part of the
Shibata
reason,
fan.
Yeah, which is part of the reason why he's so beloved in Japan, is because he's very much a tribute to Inoki.
I mean, it's especially like I always thought he was really cocky in his younger years. Like, I know he's kind of matured a little bit now.
I loved it, though.
Of course, there was, a lot of personalities around when he was younger, too, as compared to now. But, yeah, I would totally push him to the moon if he was to come back healthy.
Fingers crossed. Hope so.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then a couple other matches that they've had. So, like we were talking about during the Road to Power Struggle. So their next big show is Power Struggle, which is going to be on November 5th. And they've had their Road to Power Struggle series, which basically has a lot of different tag matches and stuff, but also matches that are going to count towards the Super Junior Tag Team Tournament. So... it's been interesting to see because a lot of it is also building up the feuds in between people. So the main thing they usually have is it's Juice Robinson, who's been getting pushed a lot.
Yeah.
He's been getting a lot of wins during this Road to Power Struggle run, which I am very glad for. He's very talented. And I'm glad he's finally getting this chance to shine because he was not used very well in the WWE as CJ Parker. Yeah. Even though he was, again, a big fan favorite.
I think being in Japan sometimes really opens the wrestler up.
Oh, definitely.
Who may otherwise be like, just kind of stuck. They get to Japan and their mojo gets kind of refilled. Not Mojo Rawley. God, I wish he'd go to Japan.
No, I don't.
I think he got to Japan and got synced in with everybody else and really was able to find his mark there. Yeah,
which was really cool, honestly. I am a big fan of seeing that evolution.
Again, it's when you're there, though, and they use everybody every night, you're able to kind of get in a groove better than when you're not being used every night. So.
Definitely. But they've had a series of tag matches building towards one of the most anticipated matches, actually, at Power Struggle. And that is Kota Ibushi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship.
That's going to be huge. I'm going to say Ibushi all the way with that.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, he needs
love
this.
him.
If Japan was to keep him, he needs this rub, he needs this title. And, I mean, ultimately, it's like, I think their main goal for him is to be their major title holder, their ace.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but
he has all the potential in the world to do it.
He has the height. I don't know if he can get roided out anymore to be bigger.
I mean, he's huge.
He's quite ripped for being so tall and lanky. If he can pack more meat on, I think definitely. But I mean, not everybody is that big over there. So
well, I know, but I mean, you can look at Ibushi and look at Okada, and Ibushi is like way more cut.
He is.
I love Okada also, but Kota Ibushi.
Yeah.
I have loved him for a long time. And I'm really glad that he's back in New Japan. I was kind of excited during the the Cruiserweight Classic. I was like, maybe he'll sign. And it seems they're really high on. It seemed they were really high on him. So I had hopes that he would be able to go far in the WWE.
He was supposed to go to WWE when I think Nakamura did, but I think he had like an injury or something at the time, and so he didn't end up signing. And then I thought, oh, he's going to come when they do the Cruiserweight Classic.
He wouldn't sign, though.
And he wouldn't sign. I think it's because,
he
had, New Japan has showed that they have big plans for him, but it's just...
Well, New Japan also allows him a lot more character freedom. And, I mean, Kota is super talented. He's also very weird as far as the types of matches that he is willing to wrestle or likes to wrestle, and a lot of the stuff that he does physically.
I mean, we always joke about Ric Flair wrestling a broom, and like he could put on a 5-star match.
Yeah.
But Kota Ibushi literally wrestled a blow-up doll and put on a 5-star match. And if you haven't seen it, go find it.
He also
it's actually like a really
moonsaulted
really
off
good.
of a car with a Roman candle in his hand. Crazy. He's crazy.
There was also this video clip of like a prank where he's just like supposed to be a regular guy out in the street, and this wrestling match just happens, and like all these people are watching, and he's like getting his ass handed to him, and then he starts fighting back, and everybody's just like, whoa, where did this come from? Also a really fun little clip. So I mean, he does some great things. I will say that if they do push him to the World Championship, the IWGP Heavyweight title, he would probably be the biggest ace since Hashimoto? Chono? I mean, that generation. Muto, Chono, Hashimoto.
He would reach that level of infamy. After
that one generation, you had so many aces. Across the board in Japan. Of course, Kenta. You had all these big names, and we've never gotten anybody since then. Like, I mean, the closest has been Tanahashi, Nakamura, but they just aren't.
And similarly, kind of Okada. I mean, as much as you are not on the Okada train,
I would still put Okada a little below Nakamura and Tanahashi.
But I mean, as far as within the wrestling world, critics, people who are trainers and all that, they have a whole lot of respect for him, and they see him as one of the gold standards. You know what I mean? Especially in today's world, he's the first Japanese wrestler to ever be on top of the PWI 500, which I think is a tremendous accomplishment.
But I mean, like the generation before Tanahashi, guys like Kojima.
I think
Kensuke
definitely
Sasaki,
that there was
kind of a failed,
precedent.
and I hate to say it this way, that was like a failed generation of aces. Like they just never achieved that success.
They were never quite up there.
Yeah, I mean, because like with ours, like the Americans, you got Rock, you got Stone Cold, and Cena is probably like the same level as they were. I mean, in all honesty, and same thing with Rock and Austin. They achieved that level that Hogan and Flair did. Easily, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
And Japan is kind of different, so I think Ibushi could be that for Japan.
Well, I mean, I think
he could exceed what these two previous generations have done, and kind of hit that Hashimoto, Kawada, or not Kawada, but Misawa.
I think he's primed, and New Japan in general is primed in a much different position now, where people are looking more at New Japan Pro Wrestling as a contender for a lot of the other promotions that you see, mainly based in the United States.
New Japan's always looking to enter the U.S. market.
Well, I mean, they did do their first big show in LA, the G1 special. That was on July 1st and 2nd of this year, I want to say. They plan to do it again next year. They plan to make it an annual sort of thing, and they're hoping by the end of either this year or next year, I want to say, to have offices and a dojo set up.
Nice.
In California.
They already had the U.S. title, so I mean, I think they have a plan.
Who is a Canadian.
as all great U.S. champions are.
Yeah. Not that I have a problem with it. I love Kenny, but
I think they have a plan in place, and I think if done, properly, they definitely will break into the market, and we may all be surprised how well it goes. Especially since they do very well at using Western talent, whereas we don't always do well using Japanese talent.
Oh yeah, no, that is not even a comparison, because
Nakamura is probably the one that kind of is the outlier of the group, but even he is not being used to his full potential.
I think the best foreign talent, as far as Japanese talent, I think the best use of it right now, especially in the WWE, is Asuka.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
she's been pushed to the moon. Deservedly.
Yeah.
She's insanely talented.
But at the same time, the women's division is still mid-card, mid-card level. So when they only hire models and you get an actual wrestling talent like Asuka, it's kind of hard not to push her. Of course, we'll see what they do on the main roster. Triple H did his thing, but
we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
But a couple of things as far as the road to power struggle, other things I want to talk about, or just bring up quickly. So the people that they're pushing mostly, as far as who's getting the most wins, are people, like I said, Juice Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of the matches between, tag matches between Team Kota and Team Tanahashi. But they're also giving a lot of wins to Sanada of LIJ. Which could indicate a possible higher push.
I think so. I mean, I've been following Sanada since he was in All Japan in their junior division, and
the Great Sanada, as it were.
Yeah, then he was in TNA for a little while, and I've always thought that he would have a big future ahead of him. So. New Japan is the place to do it, and hopefully he will get that push to some degree.
Yeah, for a lot of the 5-on-5 tag matches they've had, LIJ, all of LIJ versus members of Chaos, consistently the person that's been getting the most wins for LIJ is Sanada.
Mm-hmm.
With his Skull End, which is a Dragon Sleeper with body scissors. So I think that's really cool. It's a nice push, like how we've been talking about. It's really nice to see every member of LIJ elevated to being the same level.
Yeah.
There's, of course, the one clear leader, Naito, because he's the one that first brought Los Ingobernables to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one that's leading the charge, but it's nice to see that each member of LIJ is considered to be a talent enough that they will get the shot for the IWGP heavyweight title. I think that's incredible. I think it's a nice way of having each member of that stable elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And one last thing about possibly LIJ, I think it is actually a tease for LIJ, is at Power Struggle on November 5th. They're going to debut a new member of LIJ.
Ooh.
So how at the G1 last year they had a lot of teasers of Time Bomb is coming. Time Bomb is going to blow up soon, and that ended up being Takahashi. It is now Switchblade is coming. Switchblade. Now there have been a couple of speculations. The biggest and probably the one I agree with the most is Switchblade is none other than Sami Callihan, aka Solomon Crow when he was in NXT. And this is mostly due to the fact that for a lot of his independent career, especially in CZW, he was in a tag team with Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, and what were they called? Switchblade Conspiracy.
There you have it.
So, and Switchblades have always been a really big part of his character as far as within the independent circuit. So, could possibly be an indicator of him.
Yeah,
it would be cool.
Yeah,
it would be the first. It would be the first foreign member of LIJ.
Yeah,
And he is very similar as far as the type of personality. So I think he would mesh really well within LIJ. And that's pretty much it. That's New Japan, almost 4 weeks in New Japan in a nutshell.
All right.
It's like 3.5.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, figure the time and
the time difference, and
so it's like 2 days worth.
Yeah. But so that was our New Japan coverage, and talking about New Japan. This is once again the Loose Cannons signing off, and that is Sam Callihan. One sweet me.
What's sweet?
One sweet.